A very good morning to all of you and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Sorry for the delay. Let us start with the snippets. The first one, Assam mining tragedy, water level affects rescue operation. This is the third day regarding Assam mining problem. What does it say? Assam mining tragedy, simple words, and some miners got stuck. Rescue operations have been going on for some time. Water level affects rescue operation. When you see the word affect, you have to think of affect and effect. AFFECT, affect, verb. EFFECT, effect, can be a verb, can be a noun. But usually we use it as a noun, rarely as a verb. And rescue operations, obviously, imagine there is a mine. Water enters the mine. Water levels affect the rescue operations. It is understood, goes without saying. The next one, template for investigations, database of 10,000 human genomes released. There is one word here, template. Template, it means a base. Usually it goes with salvage. Very good, Usha. I appreciate that. And who is this? Madhavi says effect. Very good. And if you take here template, usually it goes with design skills. When it comes to data designing, we use the word template. Template for what? For investigations, database of 10,000 human genomes released, related to science. Now, this pic actually, this has been going on. I told yesterday also, fires in Los Angeles, wildfires in Los Angeles, devastating impact and on a rampage. Here today it says devastating attack. Oh, this is a different one, not that. Junta airstrike kills 40 in Myanmar. Here we have the word devastating. Devastating usually goes with, no, it is not about wildfire, Naidu. It is about the strike by the junta, army. Devastating means what? Complete negative impact on a large scale, we say devastating. Usually it goes with storms, cyclones, natural disasters like earthquake, floods, and here military attack also. Devastating attack, junta airstrike kills 40 in Myanmar. We have another snippet, parley. Parley means what? A discussion, meeting where people discuss things. Is India open to the idea of dual citizenship? Minister's remarks spotlights issue. So far we have got the word spotlight many a time. We have seen spotlight as a noun, something in the limelight, we say spotlight. But here spotlight has been used as a verb. Minister's remarks spotlights issue means what? Brings the issue into limelight, into public. That's what it means. We have a news item or snippet regarding cricket. Preparation time, prep time. India-Ireland ODI series from today. What is the main headline? Modi calls for documenting diaspora history. Here we have an expression calls for. What is the phrasal verb usually? Typical meaning of call for? Demand. Exodus, diaspora, all these words you have to recollect. Good, Murthy and Usha also. We got this yesterday, perhaps a news item now. We got yesterday as a snippet. Here, documenting diaspora history. I told yesterday also, you have to recollect the related words. Migration, mass migration, exodus, emigration, immigration, and diaspora, persecution, prejudice, bias, all these words you have to recollect. We have a snippet here, playback singer P. Jayachandran passes away. What does it mean he died? If I say or someone says he died, it sounds a little harsh. But when we say he passed away, it sounds better. So when you say something harsh in a nice way, what is that called? I've given many a time. What is it called? It is called euphemism. Euphemism means what? Saying something harsh in a nice way. euphemism. EUPHEMISM. That's what you have to recollect. AAP chief asks EC to raid Parvesh Singh's residence. Polity related to politics, Delhi politics. Parents charged by CBI in death of Waliar sisters related to crime. After 2 years of vacuum, Lebanon elects new leader. Again, international news. We have a pic over here, gasping for air. Usually, there's an idiomatic expression we say, gasping for breath. Gasping for what? Breath. Imagine you run a few kilometers, then you get tired. You start doing like this. Then we say he is grasping for breath. And we also say gasping, not grasping. He's gasping for breath. And there's a word that goes with everyday English. We use a word puff. Puff. Puff has 2 or 3 meanings. One meaning, when it comes to cigarette smoking, we use it as a noun. Take a puff, have a puff. That is different. But puffing here means gasping for breath. Like that you do, that is known as gasping for breath. Here, gasping for air. This is a pic preparation for what? Let me read. No respite. Imagine continuous rains. Then we say no respite. And pollution. Then also we can say no respite. Means no break. Smog. What is the meaning of smog? There are 2 words first you have to know. Mist and fog. Mist, mountain region, we use the word mist. And lowland areas, we use the word fog. Smog means what? Smoke plus fog, we use the word smog. No respite, smog over Kartavya path on Thursday as New Delhi continues to record very poor air quality. The air quality index was 302 at 8 a.m. in the national capital. It's all about air pollution. About what? Air pollution in the capital city. Now, yes, Murthy, smoke plus fog. And we have Delhi Assembly elections proving to be a moment of reckoning for India bloc. An important word is here, a phrase and also an important word. A moment of thinking, a moment of introspection, a moment of contemplation. Here, moment of reckoning. Reckon means to think deeply. Have you heard of this word any time? Reckon, to think deeply. That's an important word you have to learn. And we have, this is about Los Angeles fire. Wildfires rage out of control near Los Angeles, killing at least 70,000 asked to evacuate. There's an important word here. Whenever there is a natural disaster like floods, earthquake, cyclone, the first thing officials, the government will start working on war footing. Have you heard of this idiom anytime? Work on war footing. War footing means to be on toes and act immediately. And what do? They try to evacuate people from there. Evacuate means to shift from the area of devastation. And they are taken to rehabilitation centers. Those words you have to recollect. Rage, one meaning anger, and intense also you can say. Wildfires rage out of control near Los Angeles, killing at least 70,000 asked to evacuate. You can see smoke billows means comes out. Huge quantity here you can make out. A Bank of America building engulf. Engulf means to surround, to take into. Engulfed in flames in Los Angeles on Wednesday. They have this problem, California especially. Quite often they experience wildfires and not in their hands. And this time it has affected a lot of Hollywood heroes. They lost their homes got gutted because of uncontrollable wildfire. That's all from today's front page. Let us go to today's editorial, an important editorial. Today's editorial, it is all about earthquake. About what? Earthquake that happened in Tibet, a recent incident, and Nepal got affected. Delhi to some extent, India to some extent, not to a great extent. It is about a natural disaster, earthquake. I always tell students English in a way an easy language because we have lexical terms. What is the meaning of lexical terms? Related words. Here the topic is earthquakes. Then invariably the writer has to use from any part of the world the user lexical terms related to the topic like epicenter, Richter scale, tremors, tectonic plates, impact, loss of property, loss of lives, evacuation, all these part of the topic. Today also you come across the same words. Damage control. Adherence to existing regulations can limit the impact of earthquakes. We have got here when you see damage control, what do you understand? How to control the damage based on earthquakes. That's what it means. And what is the main idea over here? Adherence to. Adhere to, I have given many a time. Comply with, stick to, adhere to, abide by. And we follow the rules. What is the expression? Law-abiding citizens. All these you have to have at your fingertips. Adherence to what? Existing regulations related to infrastructure can limit the impact of earthquakes. Imagine when it comes to a particular place, today we always talk about urbanization, development, and when it comes to development, there are certain rules and regulations, there are certain things one has to adhere to. And if the organizations or companies or firms adhere to certain things related to infrastructure development, we can damage the impact of the earthquakes. That's what it means. Any editorial like this has to, what could be the broad framework? It has to talk about the earthquake, when it happened, where it happened, why it happened, what is the impact, negative impact, what are the solutions, and generally, why do they happen in a particular region, what is science behind that, and what do the experts say. This editorial also follows the same framework. This week, an early morning earthquake in Tibet of magnitude of 7.1. Again, when we talk about the earthquake, we use words like Richter scale. On Richter scale, how much is it? How much was it? 7 plus is dangerous, devastating, deleterious, harmful. And not below 7, okay. 7 plus, very dangerous. 6 is okay, I think. 7 plus on the higher side. This week, and we use the word magnitude. What was the magnitude? This week, an early morning earthquake in Tibet of magnitude 7.1 and originating at a depth of 10 kilometers has reportedly claimed at least 100 lives and damaged buildings and houses. What is the impact? How much? 7.1, and where did it originate? Originating at a depth of 10 kilometers, what is the impact? Has reportedly claimed at least 100 lives and damaged buildings and houses. Two things happen usually whenever there's an earthquake. One thing, loss of lives. Second thing, loss of property. This talks about lives 100, property, houses, and damaged what? Buildings and houses. We also use words like tremors. Tremors means the shaking. We use word tremors. The tremors from the quake were felt in Nepal as well as parts of Bihar and even New Delhi, thousands of kilometers away. It happened in Tibet, but the tremors, the tremblings or the shakings felt in India, felt in Nepal. In India where? Bihar and UP and even New Delhi, not UP. Parts of Bihar and even New Delhi, thousands of kilometers away. Why as well as, why should I underline that? Very good, Murthy. The word both takes end. Common error, people say as well as. Both as well as wrong. Both and. She is a scholar as well as a writer. Wrong. She is a scholar. She is both a scholar and a writer. Both and combination you have to remember. The main earthquake was followed by at least two aftershocks. Usually earthquakes, first the main one. After that we have two more or three more, but not of the same magnitude. And this is about that. The main earthquake was followed by at least two aftershocks. If the epicenter had been located closer to India, whenever you see the word if, you have to be alert and you have to think of conditionals. In English, broadly, we have three conditionals: present conditionals, past conditionals, zero conditionals. And present, again, two types: open and hypothetical. And you have to recollect all that information. If the epicenter had been located closer to India, had been located, this is in past perfect. The moment you see if clause in past perfect, you have to tell yourself it is in past conditional. Then main clause, you have to use the pattern would plus have plus verb past participle form. Sometimes we use could, sometimes we use might. If the epicenter had been located closer to India, the damage could have been manifold. See, could have been manifold. There was a possibility for damage at a higher level. Luckily, did not happen. If he had practiced a lot, he would have done well. This pattern goes with past conditional, that you have to recollect. Manifold, higher level. Earthquakes in the Himalayas evoke a special kind of dread in the country. Evoke, special kind of dread. Evoke means to bring to mind, evoke thoughts, evoke memories, and dread means something that you fear. Those who are preparing for competitive exams, for many candidates, English is a dreaded language. English is what? The most dreaded subject, means the most feared subject. Earthquakes in the Himalayas evoke a special kind of dread in the country. There is a statement given by the editorial, given by the writer. The writer has to substantiate or justify. Next sentence talks about justification. Memories of two deadly quakes in Nepal in April and May of 2015 that killed at least how many? 9,000. See, devastating impact. Based on that, whenever people think of earthquakes in the Himalayan region, they consider that the dreaded one, the most dreaded. Two deadly quakes in Nepal in April and May of 2015 that killed at least 9,000 and caused incalculable damage till bubble up. Bubble up you can also use pop up. Means they keep coming to the mind. That whenever we talk about earthquakes, we have to invariably use the tectonic plates. Tectonic plates, it goes with geology and geography, but part of terminology or lexical terms that go with earthquakes. They cause the earthquakes. The tectonic plates are the gigantic. Gigantic means what? Huge. Shards means broken pieces of something. Could be glass, could be mass of land, anything broken pieces, shards. The tectonic plates are gigantic shards into which earth is broken up. Layered on them are the continents and the seas. These plates are constantly in motion, colliding with, diverging with, or sliding past one another. Why are earthquakes caused? Earthquakes are caused because of the movement of tectonic plates. And these plates are always in motion, and in that process keep moving. They may collide, they may pass, all these things possible. One thing, these plates are constantly in motion, colliding with one possibility, diverging with another possibility, or sliding past one another. The Indian plate collided with the Eurasian plate and the crust tilted upwards, creating the Himalayas. This sentence talks about how the Himalayas have come into existence. Himalayas, mountain range. Before any mountain range, we have to use a definite article, the. The Himalayas, the Alps, the Andes, you have to recollect. The Indian tectonic plate collided with the Eurasian tectonic plate, and the crust, the top layer of the planet, if you take the surface of the earth, the crust tilted upwards, creating the Himalayas. The fractured zones along which they interact create the fault lines with where earthquakes occur. The fractured zones, some zones are there, they get fractured, and these create faults. And faults, because of those faults, earthquakes occur. The fractured zones along which they interact create the fault lines where earthquakes occur. By studying these faults and the pattern of past earthquakes, seismologists, an important word. One word substitutions, seismologist. Who is a seismologist? One who studies earthquakes. Seismology, study of earthquakes. Based on those faults and the pattern of past earthquakes, seismologists can estimate how much latent energy. What is the meaning of latent? Means hidden, not released. Latent heat, latent energy, latent potential. Latent energy at these fault lines, which can run thousands of miles, has been released, and how much of it still resides in them. What is the job of seismologists? What do? They study the old earthquakes patterns. They also study the fault lines, and based on that, they can estimate how much latent energy at these fault lines, which can run thousands of miles. These fault lines can run thousands of miles, has been released. They estimate how much energy has been released and how much of it still resides in them. They can estimate how much energy is still there, how much energy has been released. Second part talks about what? Scientists have long warned of a massive overdue earthquake in the Garhwal-Kumaon range because of what is known about the pattern of quakes in the region. They have already cautioned about a potential earthquake in which region? The foothills of Himalayas in the Garhwal-Kumaon range because of what is known about the pattern of quakes in the region. Above it talks about seismologists study the patterns of old earthquakes. Earthquakes happened, and based on the fault lines also they try to predict. It talks about the same thing. Already they have given a warning. The records of the last 300 years suggest that those that have occurred have not released all the pent-up energy. When they studied how many? 300 years suggest, the records of the last 300 years suggest that those that have occurred have not released all the pent-up energy. Means what? Some energy is still there, latent energy is there. Anytime, if at all there is an earthquake, that energy comes out and makes a tremendous negative impact. Pent-up means to hold up. Usually I give the combination, it goes with pent-up emotions. Pent-up emotions means hidden emotions, controlled emotions. Here pent-up energy. That is why that's why there is a broad consensus among experts that an 8 magnitude trembler is overdue. Based on that, they say there is some sort of unanimity among the experts. What is that? There is a potential for an earthquake of 8 magnitude to happen, likely to happen. There is a consensus regarding that, and it is overdue. Means what? It may happen any time. Unfortunately, they can predict. Seismologists can tell us this is a seismic zone and there is a potential for a major earthquake of the magnitude 8 may happen. They can go to that extent, prediction. But they don't, the science today, they cannot predict the day and the time. Science has not advanced to that extent. This sentence says the same thing. Unfortunately, what? Unfortunately, predicting the day and time is outside the ambit of current science. Ambit means the sphere, the range. It is outside the range of current science. They cannot predict the time and day. That is not possible. Exactly, ambit, range, array, all these words you have to recollect. Thus, the best we can hope for is insulation against the projected damage. Imagine you don't know the date, you don't know the time, but you know there is a potential. Heavy earthquake is overdue. Then what are you supposed to do? You have to be prepared, take preventive measures to control the damage. You have to work on damage control. This sentence says the same thing. Thus, the best we can hope for is insulation, protecting against the projected damage. It is in this context that infrastructure development in the Himalayan region must be viewed. As I said at the outset, whenever there is an earthquake, two things happen. One, loss of lives. Second, loss of property, houses and buildings. And based on this, earthquakes affect infrastructure. Infrastructure very important. This sentence talks about the same. Here, it is in this context that infrastructure development in the Himalayan region must be viewed. Last time also I did not once, twice, many a time, earthquakes and natural calamities in the Himalayan region, especially the foothills of Himalayas. There they constructed a lot of dams and infrastructure development that has resulted in floods and other natural calamities. It is in this context that infrastructure development in the Himalayan region must be viewed passive voice. While several of these projects are intended to smooth the movement of people and goods, the recurrent landslides and glacial lake outbursts that wash away dams, hydropower projects, and roads serve as a constant reminder of the inherent fragility of the region. Himalayan region is a fragile region. Fragile means what? Delicate. Fragile ecosystem. It can bear certain things. Beyond the limit, impact is going to be negative. And in that fragile ecosystem, governments have built many dams and many projects have come up within no time. Based on that, while several of these projects are intended, what is the idea behind all those dams and roads, infrastructure related projects? They want the free movement of people and goods. That is good intention. But while several of these projects are intended to smooth the movement of people and goods, the recurrent landslides and glacial lake outbursts that quite often they experience landslides and glacial outbursts. And what is the impact of those? That wash away dams, hydropower projects, and roads. They serve as a constant reminder of the inherent fragility of the region. In a way, it says we should not take anything beyond the limit. They have constructed dams beyond what the Himalayan ecosystem can take because it is a fragile ecosystem, and the negative impact outburst of all these things. Next one. Every form of infrastructure in the region, power plant or dam, must take into account the imminence of a major earthquake and the associated cost factored into planning. Whenever they construct, imagine there's a zone, earthquake prone zone, we say seismic zone. In that seismic zone, if they construct a dam or some power project, they have to keep in mind the inherent danger and inherent fragility of the system. The sentence says the same thing. They serve as a constant reminder of the inherent fragility of the region. Every form of infrastructure in the region, power plant or dam, must take into account the imminence of a major earthquake. What is the meaning of imminent? Imminent means certain to happen. I usually give two combinations. One, war is imminent, imminent war. Floods are imminent, imminent floods, imminent cyclone. Take into account the imminence of a major earthquake and the associated costs factored into planning. While planning itself, they have to keep in mind it's a seismic zone, there's a potential for a major earthquake. Accordingly, they have to plan the development. How does it end? Adhering to already existing building codes, not only in the Himalayas but in the surrounding Indo-Gangetic plains, can go a long way in limiting the inevitable damage. If they adhere to the rules, one way they can control the damage. Second thing, adhering to already existing building codes, not only in the Himalayas but in the surrounding Indo-Gangetic plains, can go a long way in limiting the inevitable damage. If they follow the rules and regulations, adhere to rules and regulations, they can minimize the damage, they can control the damage. It ends on that particular note. Important because I always tell students any editorial related to environment, related to natural disasters, important. Man-made disasters, important. You may get as a passage, prelims or mains. Yes, inevitable means what? Unavoidable. That's all for today. I hope you guys have got enriched. Have a nice day. Have a nice, not today is what, Friday. And thank you very much. And always work on important words, important patterns. That will help in the long run.